Dude, I watched an anime recently that like it stuck with me, and I'm gonna make a whole video about it. That there's scenes in anime that can go past the boundaries you're expecting, and like it physically made me hurt inside. And like I've had multiple animes that I've watched and like they've stuck with me, not for the good reasons. And it's I'm honestly at this point like I don't even know if I want to go back and finish the anime. It's like the Goblin Slayer effect, right? You watch episode one, do you want to watch the rest of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the mindset right now. I'm like, dude,
What was
it
it?
was good. It was B-Toom,
Batum? Oh,
Btoom.
you should keep watching Batum.
I've heard it's amazing, but
It's
dude,
very good.
episode 2 was crazy. And then the fact is,
Yeah.
I did research on it, and I was trying to find more about it because I want to like every time I do like an anime I watch now, I want to make sure I have like context behind it. And I found out the manga is even worse. Like, because you know what happens episode 2, and when
Because
I went and
Batum's
saw the manga.
Batum's the death game where they all have like different kinds of bombs, right?
Bombs, yeah, and they're like it's like a survival island battle royale, but you have bombs, and it is crazy, and it is stuck with me. I literally watched it Friday night, and I have yet, or when it was not Friday night, I watched it Wednesday night, and it is Friday now, and I still haven't been able to go watch it. I'm not watching a romance anime right now just to make me feel good because,
Valid.
dude,
Valid.
it's stuck with me, and I'm like, it's so deep, but also that should be the good thing about anime too, though, is that like you can have impactful moments, you can have scenes as it does in that anime that you couldn't have on regular TV shows, that you couldn't have in regular movies. So yes, they're able to push that boundaries, but like, dang, dude, it stuck with me, and I'm like, do I watch it? But then I'm gonna watch. I just like
It's good. You should watch it.
I
It
went
is
and read the manga chapter of what actually happened, and the manga is so much more brutal than the actual TV show. They censored it so much on the TV show versus the manga. And I'm like, how could someone write this though? Like, how does someone get into a mindset that I'm gonna write this?
so I'm gonna
And
put you onto some peak, bro.
go
You
ahead.
think that was bad? I'm pretty sure the answer to what I'm about to ask you is no, since you're like 5 years into anime.
Okay.
But the original
Mhm.
death game story.
Death Game Story.
So Batum's a death game, right?
Huh?
Freaking what is the story with Katniss Everdeen? What's that called?
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games is a death game, right?
Yeah.
Divergence is a
Survival
death
games.
game.
Yeah.
The original Japanese death game story that's been banned in many countries was banned in America, and then
Okay.
the ban was lifted, and only has a manga that is wild is Battle Royale. And this is like there's a map in the book.
That's crazy.
And so they made a manga about it, and it's freaking crazy, bro. And so like this book is phenomenal. And so like you're reading it, and basically what happens, it's a class. So and this could actually be used for a clip if you want it to be, it's fine. It's actually, in Japan, when you go to school, you're typically like you start school, and unless you move away or something, you're like your whole class kind of moves together, right? And so you're with the same people a lot. So it's about this class that's on their way to the field trip, and they live in a world where at some point in time, like students and young people in Japan tried to overthrow Japan. So the Japan government became like very, very militaristic and very dictatorial.
Wow.
And you know how in Hunger Games, like they make examples of the lower class sectors by hosting the Hunger Games, like, hey, this is our way to make a ton of money, but also to keep you down.
Mhm.
Well, in this world, once a year, they randomly choose a class of students, abduct them, put them on an island, put bomb necklaces around their necks, and make them fight to the death while they live stream it all to the rest of Japan.
Yeah.
And so that is about this class that's taken and done that. And it's a class of like 7th graders. So they're all like 13 and 14.
Jeez,
and so like
dude.
they wake up in a room, and it's the teacher, and he's like, yeah, so this is what happened. They're freaking out. And this one kid's like saying, I'm not going to do this, kills the kid. He's like, if anybody else has a problem with it, like that's your solution.
The guy who's telling them like what you have to do, like the rules and all.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so each of them gets
we have to make an example.
bag. The duffel bag has like some limited rations and water and one random weapon.
Mhm.
and then they all get released at intervals, like every 10 minutes somebody gets to go, every 10 minutes somebody gets to go.
Oh, so you have like a chance to get around, or
Yes.
if you just want to spawn
And so
camp, then you have that too.
they're told that the bombs, or the bomb collars on your neck, like, they won't do anything if you try and leave the island, because you're in an
Mhm.
island in the middle of nowhere, you'll drown. But
Mhm.
the island, like I showed you here, the island is gridded out, and every so often one of the grids is turned into a hot zone.
So
Then if
it's
you're in
actual like a battle royale then.
It's an actual battle royale. So, say after an hour, this grid, say grid D, 3 gets turned into a hot zone. And if you're in D3, your bomb
Mhm.
collar explodes. If you go into D3 after that, your bomb collar explodes. So like every hour they're gridding off the island
So
so
you
it
can't
forces
just
you to
stay in one
not just
location.
camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so that happens. And then like it's the most brutal death game, original death game story. And like the way he writes the characters is so phenomenal. And I was reading this, I read this book in like, I read for like 48 hours straight and read this book.
Really?
And the way he writes the characters is so
Is it a light
phenomenal.
novel or
So
manga?
this is a novel.
Okay.
And then it was turned into a manga. And it's been turned
Oh.
into several Japanese movies that are crap. But like I'm reading
Right,
halfway
right.
through this and I'm like, this is savage. This is crazy.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
this one girl that was like the school like slut, and like she's using, her body to
Oh, okay.
lure guys
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
then
And then
murder them while she's
yeah.
sleeping with them. And I'm like, this is wild. This is crazy stuff. And then I stopped and I'm like, these are 14-year-olds.
Dude, it's yeah. Age is
It's
something that definitely needs to be like talked about when it
Yeah,
comes to Japan. That's crazy.
but it's brutal, and that's why it's so brutal, because they're
Mhm.
so young.
Yeah.
And it's set, like, is it messed up? Yes. Should that be something that happens? No. But it sets the stage for this incredibly dark atmosphere and
Mhm.
helps you get into the world that these kids live in. And then you start to realize this happens once a year to a random class, and
Mhm.
this is just the class that it's happening to. And then it's like, well, what about the kids' parents? And then it kind of talks about, hey, they go and inform the kids' parents, and if the kids' parents have a problem with it, they just get murdered. And
So
it's
it's k
phenomenal.
it's kind of like another meets Alice in Borderlands, like mixed together,
Uh,
right?
kind of. I mean, it's just like I said. This is as far as I know, this is the original Death Game
Okay.
story, or one of the originals.
Mhm.
And then it was turned into a manga. I can't even read the manga because
Right.
it's too messed up and graphic. Like,
Wow.
I mean, what I can imagine is worse, but actually putting visuals in the manga
Yeah,
is
yeah. Actually
crazy.
having that image now. Yeah.
And
Oh
like,
my
it's
gosh.
hard to find the manga. And like, I would fully recommend the book. Like, you can
Mhm.
still, I had to buy this on Amazon, or I had to buy it on eBay. At
Mhm.
one point in time, you can see like the old
And it's just
school
called Battle Royale?
Battle Royale, Koshun Takami. But it's this. Like, there's a lot of other Royale stuff, but it's this. It's very good. And it's not like it's, overly sexualized or overly messed up in any way.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just like a typical death game, but then you realize that everybody's like 13 and 14, and it's
Once
very
you
good.
once that gets like in your mindset, 'cause that throws me off with a lot of animes too. Once you realize that their age, and sometimes like you can have middle schoolers that look like they're in high school, and that's something I don't understand, especially like when it comes to watch anime too. Sometimes like the uniforms, they all look so generic that you can't really tell. Hey, is this a middle school? Is this a high school? It's just since they all look the same, you can't really tell their age, and that kind of like throws you off sometimes. Even when you're watching like us as adults watching a high school anime, it's like, is this really like worth watching? Because the show I'm watching right now, I'm actually enjoying the crap out of it, loving it. It's a great romance anime that I think might finish appropriately. I think it's a harem based anime, which I don't really watch harem. I'm making a video about harem. That's why I'm watching this one, just so I can talk about it. But with this one, I think they're doing everything about this correctly, and they're mixing kind of like all these different genres of like the plot of how this, cliche trope is supposed to happen. But I think they're doing it right. The only thing though is that it's really throwing me off. You have one girl who is in college, one girl who's in high school, and then one girl who's in middle school. They're all sisters, apparently, but not really. You find out about that later on. And then you also have to do, you have to think about that is that like the guy, he's like right in the middle of all their ages. Like, so the girl that's right in the middle, he's the same age as her. And you're trying to figure out who does he end up with. But it takes a whole different twist. I thought it was going to be like your cliche, just stupid watch, but it's actually really enjoyable. But the
What is
one thing
it?
that's throwing me off Tying the Knot with
I
Amagami Sisters. I heard a lot of great things about it, and I'm trying to do a video on harem anime that were done right.
Yeah,
Because
that's
pretty
interesting.
much you have like quintessential quintuplets. You have Tying the Knot. Also, another one I think is great that people don't realize. Well, two other ones that are great are Tempura and also Hokkaido Gals. Those right there are harem based animes that are not mainly like the objective of the main character isn't to have all these women. He has to decide. And the thing is, it's a fight to figure out who is best girl. And I love animes like that because like it's not like, oh, he ends up with every single girl, or by episode 2, every girl wants to marry him. No, it's it does the cliche genre where, okay, guy moves in somewhere or guy gets to a school, they all hate him. Then after that, then they try to get rid of him. Then after that, he does something nice and they like him. But that's usually what happens like in the beginning. And then what happens after the show is its own direction. But this one right now is completely different, and I'm loving every second of it. And it shows like past intertwined. And I think the title, and I'll probably do a full review on this anime later on, and we can talk about this in another like episode. But I think Tying the Knot is the perfect title for this anime because a lot of times, even with another, um, like titles like that, there are certain ones that they're just like very generic. But when you have Tying the Knot with Amagami Sisters, you think it's meant to be about, oh, we're just gonna get married, and they plug that in a lot of times.
Mhm.
But actually, though, is that tying means intertwined, and if you look at it, all of their lives have been intertwined at some point. And I think that is so good of how they
Oh,
made that
that's cool. Yeah.
title, but it's also like, hey, we all have to get married, but their lives are intertwined. I thought that was beautiful. I'm like, I'm all in now. I'm all
Yeah,
in.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll put you onto an interesting show, and then let's get started.
Yes.
If you want like traumatizing but not traumatizing, just traumatizing because it takes a really
Give me
cool
what you
tonal
got.
shift.
Give me what you got.
It's old school anime. It's like 13 episodes. It's called Madoka Magica.
Dude.
Have you seen it?
Okay. So a friend of mine recommended to me. I started watching
It's
with it.
very good.
I just don't get it.
How far did you get?
I watched the first episode because she was like, just watch the first episode. Just watch the first episode. I watched it. And
Yeah.
I just don't get it
You
because
gotta,
the
you gotta get past
visuals,
that.
it's messed up. But I'm not a big man. Like, I hate animes that make you have to think more. I
Yeah.
like how they have deep meanings. I'm all about that. But you have to think more than what it's about, because first off, Evangelion, hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I don't like animes where it's supposed to be like, oh, it has a deeper meaning behind this and then this and this. But like, if it goes down a rabbit hole where you have to figure out what it actually is about, and maybe even the author themselves says they don't know what the anime is about, you can't convince me it's a good anime. With that one, first off, that one they're super young, and
Well, they're high
all
school
this
kids.
stuff is happening.
Yeah.
But the way, even the same thing, like, what we're talking about with Texas and all that too, the way they look and what's going on and the visuals too, I'm like, I feel like I need to be high while watching it, but I would probably enjoy it then.
It's definitely interesting. Like, I think once you get, because that's what I first thought too, and then I decided, I was like, it's 12 episodes. I really want to watch it. I was going through a phase. I still kind of am going through a phase where I'm like checking out more like older, kind of partially obscure shows, kind
Mhm.
of sort of obscure, but not really. Um, so I decided to start watching that, and the first episode, I was like, okay, this is weird. I want to stick with it and just see, because I had a lot of people, because I made a video
Mhm.
and mentioned it in a video, and a
Mhm.
lot of people were like, it's so good. I would agree. It's worth the 12 episode commitment, because you get to a point where you like, obviously it's a magical girl anime, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to learn how these magical girls get their powers, like
Mhm.
what this magical girl universe is about, why they're getting their powers. And then there's like a crazy twist about one of the magical girls. And
Yeah.
then there's another crazy twist that happens, and you're like, what the heck? It's it the twists are very
Mhm.
hard to predict,
Mhm.
and it's
I
it's
love that in
good.
anime though. I love that.
One of the things I thought was so cool about it is you got that cool old school animation, and
Mhm.
probably the reason you're like, this is weird, is because you don't fully understand that, like, once you, so there was a point where they like the animation changed and it became this weird like paper mache type thing.
Yes.
That's when they go into the witches layers. So whenever they go into the witches layers, that's an alternate universe, it looks like that.
Mhm.
because it's an alternate world from theirs, and so it has a different vibe, a different look and feel. So the
Right.
witches universes look like that because it's meant, and because I think because it's intentionally setting the tone of like, this is weird and unsettling and different from what's normal. And so that was the biggest hurdle for me to get over, was that like animation shift in the witches layers. But it's worth the 12 episodes because it really does dive into friendship, dives into sacrifice, dives into some cool magical girl elements.
Mhm.
And it goes beyond surface level for 12 episodes. I mean, it's pretty good.
I might give it another shot, but I don't know, dude. It kind of threw me off.
Bro, give it half.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to
So
do the 3 to 4 rule? You think that could work?
the 3 to 4,
Yeah, 3 to 4.
give it like what? Give it 3 to 4 episodes. I think the 3 to 4 episodes could I'd say you need at least four. Because I remember around episode 6 is when I was really like, oh, this is some interesting
Mhm.
stuff. And I think
Mhm.
around 4, I was starting to get intrigued by what was happening and what was going on. So yeah, give it the 3 to 4 rule. I think you'll be happy.
Okay. Welcome back to more of the Cartoon Podcast. I am Kyle, hosted with my co-host Will. We are going to be talking this week about Soul Leveling and how it has become the most watched anime on Crunchyroll and what's to come from that, because there's a lot of predictions about this. Rent a Girlfriend chapter 380 and how it's the rejection heard around the world. The beginning after the end got a season 2. How also we're going to talk about Will's experience at Collecticon, and hopefully we'll be able to have time to talk about the ban that is going on with Texas currently and how pretty much Texas is being the show tucker of anime. So first, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. Let's talk about Soul Leveling and how it's become the most watched anime. I'm gonna have Will talk about this because I know he's super excited to talk about this.
I have to say, this is kind of random, but my editor edited a video for me yesterday, and I was interviewing my buddy Jordan at DreamCon,
Mhm.
and this was the 14th interview in a row in 2 hours, and so I was loopy and kind of I
Jeez.
didn't remember the interview, and
That's
so
what they
he
don't talk
sends
about
me,
with content creators, like the brain fog you get of just
yep,
like you do it so long, you get a brain fog and you're just
yep.
boom.
And you go back and you review it, and you're like, oh yeah, we did say that. So he
Yeah.
sends me this video, and he's like, this video is hilarious. So I'm laughing my rear end off. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
remember any of this. And it gets to a point where I asked him, I was like, hey, what's your favorite anime closer? Like closing song. And he goes, oh, the closing song for Solo Leveling season 2 is my favorite. Or it's season 1 or season. It's the
Not
one
bad
that
one.
shows him
Not
walking.
bad.
You see him walking
Yeah, yeah,
around.
yeah.
And for whatever reason, I turned to the camera and I go, oh, did you know Solo Leveling is a Gooner anime because they're showing his feet in this closer? I don't even remember saying. So there's a part of the video where I just go, Solo Leveling's a Gooner anime, and he goes, they be showing feet.
Well,
It's just the most random thing.
well, first, hold on, before we get back into it, don't you think it's kind of weird though? Like, it's kind of like how like the Nickelodeon effect. I don't know if you know. We're not gonna get into that, but they're gonna stick with anime. They're gonna stick with anime. But like, they show feet, and sometimes they put too much detail into the feet. You ever notice that?
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know.
okay,
But
Soul Leveling.
it is interesting. Solo Leveling has been, labeled according to Sony as the most watched anime of all time on Crunchyroll. And what I
One
found to be really interesting,
Piece.
and I may or may not have like leaned into this just a hair, but was very clear. There's a
Just a hair.
lot of people out there making graphics. You got all these anime news pages and stuff. And
Mhm.
by the way, if you have a page on Facebook and Instagram, and all you're doing is making picture posts, and you get a lot of
Mhm.
engagement, you can make a lot of money doing that, by the
Mhm.
way. But you got all these anime news pages out there being like, Solo Leveling's the most watched anime of all time, and then in tiny letters it's like on Crunchyroll. Yeah,
Time.
so what actually happened is Sony put out their reports. Sony owns Crunchyroll, and said that Solo Leveling is the most viewed anime on Crunchyroll ever, according to Sony. Now, why would they
Right.
lie? They have no reason to lie. That'd be stupid to lie, because I'm sure this is, there's some,
No, 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 no. They're not stupid. All right. It's just
yeah,
Sony. It's
it's
just
just Sony.
Sony. Yeah.
But it's interesting because, people are, I made a video about this, and people are like,
Mhm.
well, what about One Piece and Bleach and Naruto and all these other things? I'm
Mhm.
like, hey, there's nuance to this, right? Like,
Right.
obviously the fact that it's the most watched anime ever on Crunchyroll means it's very, very popular, but
Yes.
there's nuanced perspectives to this. One, you could only watch Solo Leveling on Crunchyroll. You couldn't watch it on another platform. Like that's the only place you could watch
Well,
it, right?
there's other ways,
No, no, no.
but
Was it on Netflix? Was it on Netflix?
no, no, no. I was talking about like other sites.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you got
yeah.
the pirate
The
sites,
pirate
whatever. But
life, you know.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about like official official
No, it was
platforms,
on Crunchyroll. Yeah.
as opposed to other shows. Let's just use the big three, for example, so we're not
Hmm.
getting inundated with all this stuff, but as opposed to like One Piece and Naruto and
Hmm.
Bleach, which are available on multiple platforms, right?
I think it was on. I think where like the big three got a lot of traction too recently with streaming sites was Hulu. Actually, Hulu put Naruto on there. They put I think OG and Shippuden on there, and people just lost their freaking minds over it. And I think they also had Bleach, but Netflix mainly had Bleach for the longest time. I don't know if they still do, but if you want to talk like the big three, pretty much now it's going to be like you have Netflix, Hulu, and Crunchyroll. Those are like the big three of streamings because I know Disney Plus is trying to get into it too, but it's not really working out. But
I hate
those.
Hulu with a fiery passion,
I hate
and
Crunchyroll, so
it makes it be to where I really just have to force myself to watch Thousand Year Blood War, and I'm going to explain to you
Mhm.
why. And I'm going to be
Okay.
38 years old here in a week, and this might show my age.
Happy birthday.
But I hate Hulu because when Hulu started, I remember signing up for a Hulu account 18 years ago when I was 20 years old, and
It's been that long?
Hulu was free,
Yes.
but
Loved
it
it.
had ads.
Loved it. It was still
But
worth it though.
if you wanted no ads, then you paid $8 a month and you didn't get ads. But it was free. Now we're at a point where there is no free Hulu.
No.
You pay for ads, or you pay more for no ads.
Now,
And so
is
it makes it, and they put so many ads in. So just using Bleach Thousand Year
like
Blood War,
Twitch
for
now.
example, yeah, in 122, so Bleach Thousand Year Blood War anime is about 22 episodes with intros and outros, right? In one 22-minute episode of Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, I think there's 3 or 4 minute and a half long commercials.
Okay.
Which, again, first world problems, right? I grew up watching anime and cartoons on TV, and there was, an average of
Commercials
8
all the
minutes of
time.
commercials
Yeah.
per,
That's why
per
it's
episode.
22 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying to turn on the television and watch whatever's on the broadcast. I'm paying. And so I digress, but I don't like it because of the way Hulu does it. Crunchyroll remains ad free. Netflix at least does it a nice way to where they usually will put either one smack dab in the middle or one at the beginning. So you watch your commercial at the beginning and then you're done.
Okay. So Prime Video, they're doing that right now too. I know they are doing it right at the beginning, and then sometimes they'll have it at like a halfway mark. Because we were watching a movie just this weekend, and first off, made me cry. But it's a regular movie, so we're not going to talk about it. But like, it had it right in the beginning, and it has like 2 minutes of commercials or ads, and then it got to a good point where it actually had a good stopping point where you're actually able to get up, maybe get another drink, use the restroom you need to. So like, I thought that was fine. But Hulu, I remember, dude. OG as well as Hulu. First off, 18 years. Holy crap. But I remember on there all the time being able to watch it, like going on there watching like Fox. I was able to watch like old Family Guy episodes, being able to watch. There was this one that came out. I think it was like Sons of Tucson. I was really addicted to, but I only had like one season.
Sons of Tucson.
I was able to watch that on there. And those were like the only means I was able to do because like TV shows my parents wouldn't allow me to watch as a kid. I was able to do it through Hulu and they didn't really know about it. Then correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Crunchyroll still have a free version, but it's still ads?
Possibly.
Okay.
It might be. I might
if
just
they do. That's the only praise I'll give them. That's the only praise.
Yeah, but even if they do, they still have a free version that's a free version, right?
But if you're paying for it, you're not paying for the ads. You're paying it so you don't have the ads. Why are they still giving ads?
Have these freaking companies like, oh, we gotta increase our profit. We gotta increase our prices because we didn't make hundreds of billions of freaking
on a TV show that we spent
on.
so much money on that completely flopped because you didn't stick to the actual either if you want to do like a live animation or source material or whatever you want to do. No, we're just gonna go off and do our own direction and it flopped for some reason.
Now, who listening to this is old enough? You might not even remember this. Let's see, I guess 18, 19 years ago, you would have been like 6, something like that. How old? No, you're not. You're not 25. You're what? You're in your 30s?
I'm a little bit.
Okay, so you might remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Netflix, when you had to go online pick your DVDs you wanted, and they
Dude,
mailed you the DVD.
and wait. Oh my gosh, I loved it, dude. I loved it because like I
And just
would go to my
wait for
dad.
the
I was
next
like,
one.
"Can we pick this movie? Can we pick this movie?" And all that. Because like for him, it was at the time it was only like I think one at a time, and then it got to like where you could rent up to 3 to 5 DVDs. And I remember we would like all have it like timed out because like, hey, this movie's on here. I want to watch it by here, so you have to like figure out the time of when you actually need to put in the order for it. And then also the fact is keeping that little piece of crap sheet there the
Yeah,
DVD came in,
tiny
didn't lose it
skinny
because
sheet, yeah.
you had to send it back. I
Yeah.
would lose it all the time. My dad got so pissed at me all the time about it. But dude, that is so but even further than that, Friday night, what are you doing?
TGI, yeah.
Blockbuster,
Oh,
going to get dude,
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster and freaking like Papa John's or Domino's right next to each other. God tier. Okay,
Yeah.
because you grab your pizza or put your order in for the pizza, go over, get your movie, get your candy, and then after that, boom, go get your pizza, go home. Friday night, best thing
Yeah.
ever.
There's
Best thing ever.
there's something that a lot of younger fans and younger people
Mhm.
will never truly understand is the fun cultural nostalgic experience, like you said, of like,
Mhm.
hey, we're gonna place in the order for pizza or whatever, and then we're
Dude,
gonna go into Blockbuster and just all the movies we'll pick out something for tonight, maybe pick out something for tomorrow, get your
the
candy, and then
amount of
for me,
trauma you'd get
yes, when you're
because you
like,
have to think
oh,
about
that's the
this.
one I want, and then it's not there.
It's not no, not even that. It's the say you find this movie, you get it, and it's a flop. That's your whole weekend because for us, say if the movie's terrible and you're like, oh, I hate it like 10 minutes in, you can back out, boom, another movie.
Yeah,
Back then, like you had a lot riding
that
on,
was
especially
the
if you had
movie
like a
that you picked
sleepover,
out. Yeah.
you had to be sure like
Yep.
it was going to be
Yep.
the movie.
Well, and then for me, like this is kind of what started my anime journey was those Blockbuster experiences.
Mhm.
And then also I would go because Blockbuster always had some type of Japanese animation or like anime section. And they
Really?
also had like old school, like the VHS bargain bin that you could go dig through. And I found
Awesome.
like old school, and that's how I found my first Ranma 1/2 VHS, which I have the original.
Do you like the new
The,
version of it?
it's fine. I prefer the
Yeah.
nostalgia of the original,
Okay. Yeah.
but that cultural experience of doing that, like it's lost,
Mhm.
and kids will never realize how cool that was. And I was driving with my wife the other day. I was like, man, I wish there was just a video store that we could take our kids to and like look at the movies, pick a movie, go get
Dude,
pizza,
right?
like or like
Right?
you can't even go to Walmart or Best Buy and do that anymore because
Mhm.
everybody's
DVDs are yeah, they're
phasing out
gone.
actual Blu-ray and DVD. So, hey, well, sorry everybody, we're two old dudes here talking about back in my day,
Honestly,
with
dude,
fast
it was,
peripheral phones.
but
But yeah,
it was amazing though. And honestly, kind of with that too is I'm actually suffering from an issue which I don't know where to find manga. I don't know where to go for anime stores. I don't know that stuff. Like I'm just used to Amazon and where do I go for Barnes and Noble. But even Barnes and Noble barely
yeah.
has the manga I'm looking for. So
Barnes
I
and
don't
Noble
know
has
where to
tons of
go.
manga. What I do, and this satisfies 90% of my itch, is I just subscribe to the Shonen Jump app. It's like $3
Mhm.
a month, and like I get access to everything that
But
Shonen Jump has.
so as you can see, I'm building like an actual, not as a backdrop, but I mean, look at yours. But like, I have minuscule compared to yours. I'm trying to do something and finding stuff like actual finding places that have anime figures, anime like stuff I want to collect. I don't know where to go for that, and that's why I also have been wanting to talk about going into conventions. I want to go to there's certain places around here that are specifically actual anime stores, but when I look at the pictures online, it's just like some rented out room that has maybe a couple of stuff you could find on AliExpress or even,
Yeah.
Amazon.
There's
So
a
I don't.
really cool shop here locally,
Mhm.
and they do travel to a lot of big conventions, but here
See, I wish
locally
I had something like that.
it's called 181 Comics,
Mhm.
but it's like a comic slash anime slash trading card store.
And that's what a lot of people
Very
told
very
me.
cool
Go to
store.
comic
Yeah.
stores. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think comic stores would have
Mhm.
it, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like my first convention I went there because of comics and realized it was saturated with anime. And here I am walking around with my buddy. I'm like, well, look at these guys dressed up as, anime figures, anime characters. And I'm like, oh,
I
crazy.
would
Well,
look.
here I'm
So
now.
we
I
have
want that.
we have a couple areas here in Texas
Mhm.
that or like in different cities that'll be like
Mhm.
it's like a big strip mall, but it's
Yeah.
like a Korean strip mall.
Yeah.
Or it's a Japanese strip mall. There's a couple areas like that, and then it's like you got
Yeah.
grocery stores and restaurants, and then you'll also have like a bookstore in there.
Mhm.
And then you can go in that bookstore and it's like, oh, it's like manga and anime figures and stuff like that. Look for things like that in your area. You might be surprised what you find.
One place that has anime figures that are kind of like the legit ones, the big scale models that are like over $100, like the legit ones, and it's at my local mall. I've been thinking about going there, but also I just want to find just like some little knickknacks because like my favorite thing right now I have are those Naruto shoes. Super excited about that. I didn't realize I don't know about drops. I don't know about anime stuff to buy and all because I know you found one. It was the One Piece. First off, that was so sick. The One Piece little cart you can push your kids around in.
The wonderful,
That
yeah,
is awesome.
yeah.
I don't know where to find that stuff, but when I found out about those Naruto shoes, I was like, I need to do it, and it was literally like because the sale had already gone on. It was like 10:30 in the morning. I was like, oh crap! I saw someone post about it. Like, oh, I just got my shoes. I was like, crap! I missed the drop, so I was only able to get these shoes. I want to get the Sasuke's. I want to get the Kakashis. I definitely want to get the Garas. Now I'm like, I missed my chance. So I don't know about that stuff, but that's a little rant. Let's get back into solo leveling.
But solo leveling, yeah. So yes,
Yes,
solo Sony, which is really interesting that Sony announced this. I'm like I the
it's very
tinfoil
risky.
hat side of me is like, what's their motivation behind announcing that like this brand new anime is now the most watched anime of all time
Mhm,
on their platform?
mhm.
Or
Yeah.
is it just something that organically happened and they're like, hey,
Is
this is
it
a cool way to build
boasting?
hype?
Is it clickbait?
But
I
then at the
think
same
a little
time, they're
bit
like, we're
both.
not going to get Solo Leveling season 3 till 2028 or something,
Yeah,
2027,
yeah,
whatever the rumor is. But I have to say, I think it's cool. I
right.
really enjoyed Solo Leveling a lot.
Loved it.
But at the same time, I read somebody sent me an article, and it basically this article was on the concept of like, hey, are anime fans like actually able to critically think? And what's cool is I
As
read this
in,
well, so I read this whole article, and what this article really was is this article was a Freerin fan hating on
okay.
solo leveling,
Yeah,
but
okay.
doing it the right way. Like
Yeah.
actually, they never said like, "Hey, I love Freerin, I hate solo leveling." They
Right.
actually did it in such a way that like actually made you think like, okay, like you know, a lot of anime fans are really excited about the quick dopamine heat. Like think about the anime that's been the most popular recently. You got JJK, awesome fight scenes in the first few episodes. Attack on Titan is a little bit more of a slow burn, but there's a
Mhm,
lot like there's several episodes of craziness and then several episodes of like build and then several episodes of craziness. And then you have solo leveling intense from the beginning. You have all these anime that are the most popular right now that are very, very like right out the gate, boom, 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 boom.
mhm,
And then you got
mhm.
the old school ones, right? That are a lot slower that I grew up on. And then you have anime like Freerin that is it's built on
It's
more of like
story building.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
told more like an old school anime. And the premise
Mhm,
of this article was do anime fans even have the ability to look at something and critically think about a show and have the
mm,
attention span to watch and let it build and let it
mhm.
marinate and
Right.
actually build things without just the instant dopamine hits. And the way they wrote it was really, really good. And then the last slide was just a picture of Freeren's face. And I was like, oh, I see what you're doing here. But they got me because I was like, this is something that I think about often too, because I enjoy the shows that are really, really fast paced, but I also enjoy the classics. I enjoy, like I was telling you about Monica Magica. It's a little bit
Right.
different. It's out there, but it's not just fast, boom, 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 boom. There's like some build to it. I enjoy Wonder Egg Priority. It has cool fights in it, but there's more to it than that. You're
Yeah.
slowly building the story of these girls that are saving, these other girls' spirits and stuff. So I'm kind of at both ends of the spectrum, but I thought that was a cool article, and it really made me think about solo leveling, being named or Sony disclosing that solo leveling is the most watched anime on all of Crunchyroll. And I made a video and I was like, hey, it's not the most watched anime of all time. You have all these other platforms, but
Mhm.
Crunchyroll being the largest anime streaming service,
And
the
it being
fact
the
that
largest
solo
anime
leveling,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that solo leveling is the number one most watched anime on Crunchyroll is that's a
Well, actually,
huge flex.
not being the largest anime, beating the largest anime, technically, if you want to go in volume, but being the most watched and all that, that's crazy. I think mainly the question right now is if you want to go Shakespeare, is to fill or not to fill. Because you have old school anime, you're full of filler. You have Naruto, you have, a lot of animes that are very well known for their filler. And that's one thing when I got into my anime kind of career was my buddy said, "Oh, you need a filler list." What the heck's a filler list? It's when
You know, it's
animes
a skip.
put in episodes that aren't canon, meaning they're not pertaining to the story. They just add a little bit of filler. You've seen it in regular TV too, where they're trying to just drag out to. They say if they need to hit 22 episodes or 12 episodes in a season, they'll add a little extra. It's not part of the story. It's just something to keep you going for that week. I think though now they realize people don't need the filler. We can actually take time, and I think it's kind of good and bad because you have some situations like Sakamoto Days, because you have Sakamoto Days that came out and it was a complete flop, but you have it to where Netflix, when they do something, they do it right. They want the whole anime all at once, completely done. So it does save time for the animators to actually work on other projects because they want to dub it. And so that's good and bad. But the problem is that the lack of filler, does the attention span go down? I say for us right now, it's too early to tell, but it's just like the same thing with the flip phone and then the smartphone. Look at that. Everyone thought the flip phone was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Then the smartphone came out, touchscreen. Everyone's like, "This is so dumb. It's gonna be, it's gonna be outscaled, or it's gonna take over the world and all." And then look what
Remember when the
happened. It's
Razor was like the hot phone everybody wanted,
dude.
the Motorola Razor?
Remember the one that actually like it looked like a little thumb drive, and you flipped it and it went like that? I thought that was the coolest thing ever, but whatever. Get back to the
Now
point.
we have these.
I know. And the fact is now is that look how important these phones are. Because I remember when I saw the iPhone first being announced, I was like, "Oh, this is stupid. No one's gonna really care about it." Now look at an iPhone. Like you can't go anywhere without your phone. You care more about your phone than your actual wallet, because one thing is it can have your wallet on there, but when it comes to anime, I feel like right now it's too early for us to tell what's going to happen, but I can make predictions. I can tell that we're not going to have filler. I can tell that also the attention spans are going to drop because you have people who are starting out with Demon Slayer. You have people who are starting out with Attack on Titan. You even have Bryce, who at Collecticon made it an interview question. He answered a question saying that like one thing is don't watch Attack on Titan as your first anime. Don't watch it, if it's an anime, well, he is advocating watch it, but when you watch it, it's not gonna have filler. So if you're not used to filler, if you don't know what that is, it's just gonna be boom, 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 boom,
Yeah, it's
fast
all
paced.
story, all
It's
story.
all story. So I think Freerun did it right though, and we'll give praise to Freerun before we get back to Soul 11, that they did a anime that's no filler, but it's all story, which I think that's a great thing to do. And I think that's what's going to happen. But also on the back end of that, I think animators, even manga writers, are going to be changing things because now that there's such a demand to make sure this animation quality is going up, the story's going up. You don't have that time just to add a quick filler piece. You don't have
Well, there's
trying to
you
figure out
also
what's under
don't like
Kakashi's mask.
you don't have to have filler because you gotta think back in the
Exactly.
day, there
Exactly.
wasn't as much work. There's so many shows to be worked on and animated.
Yes.
Back then,
Yes.
like just to make it simple, like, hey, we have the whole Bount arc in Bleach I
Mm,
believe the whole Bount arc is filler. I could be wrong. Somebody will
really.
probably troll me, but I think it might be. But anyways, you'd have whole arcs in Bleach and Naruto that are absolute filler,
Yes.
and that's because they needed something to make because the anime was so popular. Well, now there's no lack of some other project to work on.
Mhm.
That's why we
And
don't see filler so much these days.
but with that, I can kind of see soul leveling being like the isekai effect, because what I mean by that is if you look at, say, Konosuba, if you look at before then we knew there was isekais, but people didn't know about it. Was it like now and then there before something like that? There's isekais, Inuyasha. There's been isekais for a long time, but it wasn't until a certain isekai that came out. I think it was Sword Art Online that kind of did it right,
Yeah.
which if people want to say yes or no if they did it right.
Really, like Sword Art Online really propelled the concept of
Yes.
isekai and really
Yes.
made that genre
And then
super
after
popular.
that, you had Konosuba, who did it even better, near perfection, because it just was so good. And then after that, people just realized, oh, isekai is what people want. Let's just give them that. And then you started getting your trash isekai, started getting your fluff, your, if you want to call it, filler isekais. I feel like that's going to
I
happen
see
with
what you're
solo
saying.
leveling. I feel like since it's so popular, because Sword Art Online, Konosuba, you have even Jobless Reincarnation, all
Great.
of those are doing so well, and they're staying up there on the highs because
Shangri-La
they're doing so good.
Frontier.
everyone knows that isekai is going to sell. It's an isekai. It's going to be pushed. It's going to sell. Cause like you have right now coming soon is what is the Water Magician. A lot of people are thinking that's going to be a great anime. For me, I have a lot of hesitation because just it's an isekai in general, but a lot of people right now are all about Solo Leveling. That's all it's going to talk. Everyone's going to talk about. So if you have an anime coming out like Solo Leveling,
Yeah.
it's going to sell no matter what.
So
So you know,
I see
go
what you're
ahead.
saying. So you're
Yeah.
saying we may not get filler inside of specific shows anymore,
Mhm. I think
but
we're
the
gonna get
filler
trash
that we're
Solo
getting,
Levelings.
yeah, the filler that we're getting are
Mhm.
shows in and of themselves that are filler anime. So we're not getting filler
No,
arcs
yeah,
inside of a show
these
that we
long
want,
title isekais
but we're getting
versus
filler shows. I see. That's an
yes,
interesting
yes,
concept. I never thought about that. So that's very interesting. Instead of
yeah,
fillers inside the anime, you get filler episode or filler, anime themselves, which is
because
really cool. An interesting
I mean,
concept.
if you want to put it into actual like has this worked? Like, oh, that's not going to work. It has actually worked because if you look at Disney, if you look at all their shows, they're doing all their new ones that are coming out. They're supposed to be like kind of branches off of other, kind of like say like you have the new one that just came out, just doing pretty well. The what is it, the Martian or the guy he's getting hunted by aliens. That one's doing pretty well. But before that, a lot of those are flopping. Everyone's like, why are these new Disney movies flopping? Because you have movies that are coming out, continuation movies,
Like they're
say like
filler
Frozen
movies.
2. You have what was the second one that came out? You have even the Despicable Me's, all of those are making billions of dollars that if you make a terrible movie, you're willing to take that loss.
Yeah.
So
But you could
if
make
you have,
something that pops
or it
off.
could be pop off.
It's
So
called
you have
throwing crap
Solo
at the wall and
Leveling.
seeing what sticks.
Yes. You have Solo Leveling that where you know for a fact that, hey, this might be compared to Solo Leveling. A studio is going to be like, you know what? I'll animate it. I'll take that risk because you know it's going to sell. It's going to push out. Even if it flops, it's still going to sell. Beginning after the end. What happened to that? I mean, like everyone thought it was going to be Jobless Reincarnation. Everyone thought it was going to be Jobless Reincarnation and Solo Leveling. What happened? Nothing. That just
I am just flabbergasted. So I haven't read the beginning after the end manhwa. One of
no.
my best friend Ty, who travels with me to a lot of conventions,
Mhm.
he put me onto Solo Leveling, and
Mhm.
he put me onto the beginning after the end, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait for the. He's like, it's so good. I was like, I got so much to read. I'm gonna wait for the show to come out. It's such a popular. It's one of the most popular manhwa currently.
Dude,
Who
the
made
amount
the
of
decision?
anticipation.
Who made the decision to allow it to be animated like I wouldn't say it's animated horribly.
Mhm.
It's just animated very, very, very simply. Like
Right.
I'll put it like this, right? So our experience is Solo Leveling for
Mhm.
manga adaptations. It's regardless of if you like it or not, you have to admit it's done very well. It's animated very well. It
Near
is,
perfection.
yeah, it is very visually pleasing to watch,
Mhm.
right? And then we have the beginning after the end. This is the perfect example, okay? I went to Anime Expo for the first time last year. I'm going to Anime Expo again this year. Went to Anime
Awesome.
Expo. It is the epitome of anime conventions in America.
Yes.
The
Yes.
best, the biggest, the most badass. I walked in and I was like, "Oh my god, this is Disneyland for weebs. This is the
Isn't that in
Weeb Super Bowl."
California?
Yes, it's in
Okay.
California.
Okay.
And that's what it's like, the best of the best, right?
Mhm.
After Anime America, or after Anime America is my convention, by the way.
Little plug.
After Anime Expo,
Yeah.
later on we go to Anime Frontier, which is a local anime show that
Mhm.
is here in Texas. That's solid. It's big, it's fun. Probably 20,000, 30,000 people come, and I walk in and I'm like, kind of lame.
Really?
But I still had a
Wow.
blast. But my best friend goes, he goes, "No, Anime Frontier is not lame. You're just comparing it to Anime
Once you've had the
Expo."
best, it's hard
Yeah,
to go
you're
back. Yeah.
comparing it
I
to the best.
understand.
I
I
think that's
understand.
what's happening with the beginning after the end. It's not horrible. We're just comparing it to the best.
It's pretty bad.
The Solo
It's
Leveling.
it's
I
pretty
think
bad.
I I have to, you get it. I run things through a grid of like, I remember watching that anime
Yeah.
from the bargain
Yeah.
bin that I pulled out of the VHS bin, and I remember that, like, where people would, the ADR would stop and the mouth,
Right.
like that type of thing, and the mouth keeps going. So I have that comparison.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is, like, yes, it's not good. I'm still flabbergasted that this is who greenlit this. I think even the creator made like a tweet and was like, "Yeah, this is terrible, but hopefully this just pushes people to go read the
Dude,
manhwa more."
so what he did was he was like, he was trying to, save face. He's like, guys, you got to realize first off, I'm just super happy that this got animated, right? You got to realize a lot goes into animation. It takes time, it takes money, it takes all these things, all these factors. But he just wants them, you know, just like, hey, give a little empathy to us, right? We're trying our best. But my mindset, I have two things to talk about that then. One thing talking about him, and then another thing comparing it to another anime that a lot of people are doing. But would you rather be still known as the best manhwa and save face and just have pride in what you're putting out? Because if you look at all the visuals of the manhwa, if you look at the story itself, you have a lot to be proud of. And are you just wanting your manhwa to be animated, or is it something else? Was it just like a good price, allegedly? Was it a good price that came across it? Or was it like, I just want to do anything to get something animated? That's just my mindset. But a lot of people are comparing this to Blue Lock. Now, I don't know all the history behind the beginning after the end and all of the reasoning when it comes to how it's animated. You have to look at the fact is Blue Lock, which is I think probably the number one anime in Japan, probably the one advertised. You couldn't go anywhere in Japan and not see it. It's definitely westernized, but in Japan, it is crazy. That's why they were pushing for a movie. And I think that's what people don't realize. The movie is what completely ruined Blue Lock. Blue Lock, when it was coming out, the movie had nothing to do with the actual show. It was just giving on a character that everyone was loving about. I can't remember his name.
Filler.
It was a filler. It was a movie filler. And so much time, and the studio behind it that animated focused on that. Well, guess what happened right after that, though? Season 2. So all their time went into focusing on that movie, allegedly. And when season 2 came out, yes, it's going to be a slideshow thing. Even though it's visually more appealing than season 1, the animation went down, though. So I don't know fully behind if the same thing happened with Beginning After the End. Maybe the studio who took the Beginning After the End, maybe they're working on other projects and had to focus on other resources.
I mean, I'm looking at like, so the Beginning After the End was animated by Studio ACAT. So I pulled up a list of like
very well known
anime they've done. Yeah. And so like The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human was pretty good. Like I'm not seeing a ton of anime that's like amazingly mainstream, but it's not like they're new. They've done many shows. So it's definitely, it's interesting. It makes you wonder how exactly they came about, how that happened, and now it's getting a season 2 and season 3. Maybe season 2 will be better. Maybe they'll put more budget into it. I don't know. Maybe they spent all the budget somewhere else.
One of my favorite animes they did was Battle Game in 5 Seconds. Yeah, that's probably a great, very underappreciated anime. Done, I think, correctly. Yes, it does have certain aspects where the animation might not be what you were expecting for Solo Leveling, but the story was good, and I think they did a great job. If they'd done Beginning After End of the same energy they gave Battle Game, I think 100%, that's another battle royale. Since we're talking about battle royale games, I think that's another one we could talk about. That right there was done correctly. So they have the means to make a good show, very good show, and also just I think one thing needs a season 2, but did they execute? No, not at all. I'm really disappointed in how they did it.
How and why? Because like the story of it is supposedly so good that if it would have gotten half the attention and treatment that Solo Leveling got, then it would have been phenomenal.
You had the fan base. You knew people were gonna love it. How did you not have the funds, or even say if you're gonna go into the red? If you did it right, look at Solo Leveling and what Sony's claiming. If you did it right, guess what would happen? Everyone was saying it was going to be better than Jobless Reincarnation. The number one isekai, if you want to compare to ReZero or whatever, no, I think it's on Mal. It's like the number one isekai. If people are already comparing it and saying it's better, go into the red for it. Risk it, man, because you know what's going to happen. It's going to perform.
But hey, look at them. They got greenlit for season 2 and 3.
How?
Maybe they're going to fix it.
Dude, the amount of disappointment I've had this week, I've had it up to here, okay? The fact is, you have the Beginning After the End getting to season 2, which should not have happened. Then you have chapter 380, and I think also chapter 381 at the time of this recording, came out with Rent a Girlfriend, and the biggest slap to the face I've ever had. I hate this show with all my passion, but I hate it even more now because when I first got into anime, everyone was like, oh, Rent a Girlfriend, that was the hype. It was probably the most talked about anime of all time when I first started watching anime. Gave it a chance. I was like, okay, it's not bad. Don't really understand it that much, but gave it a chance. Then after like a year or two came out and then season 2 came out, I was like, let me go back and watch season 1. I don't really remember that much. I'll redo it. I watched it and I was like, how did I watch this show? Why did I give it the time of the day? It is so bad. It is so painful to watch. But the people who stay loyal to, I have to give you so much props, round of applause, whatever you want, because you stuck with this for almost 400 chapters just for the author to say, you know what? I'm going to choose my career over you. When that would have been fine. I'm not shaming anything that she did, except for the fact is that, do you know about what happened?
Yeah, I know what happened.
Okay. You took him to a romantic place. You did a whole date, everything, all this stuff, saying all these compliments, leading up to a confession, only to sideline, boom, blindside, whatever you want to call it, so many
Homie
sides.
gets friend zoned.
I'm going to focus on my job. I would have been fine if you did it right from the start when because you're starting to get feelings and you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm catching feelings for you. But right now, I really want to focus on my career. I have this goal. I have this passion. Let me do this. Everyone would have been
paying for everything
pissed.
For me.
Yeah, that's messed up too. Everyone would have been fine with it, still upset, but not outraged. People are so pissed about this, and I'm pissed for them because the fact is there's even people going through the tweets of the author himself, looking at him and saying, is he really in love with his characters that he made?
He takes pictures and then draws her in the pictures and stuff.
He's married.
It's strange.
It's more than strange, buddy. He's taking real life pictures. I thought, okay, you know what? He's just advertising, maybe trying to do a little bit of hype about it, showing, hey, this is what it would look like, Rent a Girlfriend. No, he's fallen in love with her. He's
in love with his
he's
female
committed.
Protagonist.
His creation. He's made it in his own mind.
He's cock blocking his own protagonist.
I don't know what's going to happen for this. I really, really don't know. And I think they're greenlit for, another 40 to 60 chapters. I'm not 100% sure about that, but they're greenlit to do more chapters. How? How are you going to do this? I'm making a video talking about how, and I fully believe this now, I think Mommy is a better girl than Chizuru. Flat out. And that is the most outlandish thing you could probably say at the time, but 100%, if you look at Mommy, she has been straight-faced, this is who I am, bears it all. Chizuru has been intertwining so much, and what happened in chapter, I think, 381 recently, or whatever just happened recently in the leak, she gives back the ring, the symbolic of that, because if she held onto the ring and said, hey, I'm focused on my career, that right there still gives him hope. That's a promise. Giving back that ring takes the whole thing out of context and just says, hey, you know what? I'm going to focus on my career. There's probably not a chance we'll end up together. I got to do what I want to do best. Not that the fact is I'm going to focus on my career. I hope you can support me in this, not financially, which, like I said, messed up, but maybe financially. But I'm going to hold on to the ring because I believe that we could be together at the end.
Was it people fans went through the entire manga and calculated all the money that he spent on her, and it's something over $200,000 that he's spent on paying for all these things for her?
Yen or USD?
What I was told was dollars, over $200,000 over this time. Maybe it's yen. It's possible. I'm getting all of this, secondhand, but yeah, it's dude is the biggest simp of simps ever. Who knows?
Let me ask you this question.
What's going to happen?
All right. Me and you were both married. If you were dating your wife, right? Not married before, and say it was the same situation, do you think, say your wife, who was your girlfriend at the time, say if she said, hey, I'm going to focus on my career. After all that stuff, what do you think would have happened then? After all, apparently, say not even the money.
Yeah,
all of that,
I would take that as a breakup.
Right.
Yeah, or I would take that as I'm going to probably go try and find somebody that I would take that as my job is more important than you.
Right.
Which shouldn't be the way that it is.
The way I see it, there's only two options. What you just said, And then there's another option too where, hey, you know what?
Let's take a break.
I believe in you. Or not even that, not even a
I
break.
see, I see, I
I
see.
believe in you. Let me help you with that. Now, when you put the money and all that stuff aside, like you're doing that, because there's times in your life where, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could agree. I had to go to my wife and said, you know what? I need to go all in on myself. I need your support on this. And I did. And it's benefiting us because at the time she didn't understand content creation. She didn't understand
Yeah.
that even anime itself, you know, it's just cartoons. She didn't understand it. But I went to her and I was like, I'm going to take 3 to 4 months, go all in on myself, bet everything, and see what happens. And what did she do? She supported me. She's been supporting me the whole way. So you can either take the support role or you can take a step back. Those are the two options you can do when it comes to a relationship. That's when
Yep.
you know it's sound.
But here's
Right
the thing.
here,
They're not in a relationship.
exactly.
So what
Oh,
obligation does he have to support her, you know?
not a thing, man. Not a
So
thing, dude.
speaking of that,
Oh,
same thing. So that's the same thing that my wife's done for me for the past like 6 years. So she's a teacher. So like she
yes.
had a great
Same,
job
yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's a teacher in one of the highest paying districts in Texas. So she makes it, you know, she's not making a killing, but as far as teachers are concerned, she's making a decent salary. And so like I started my YouTube journey in 2018 just for fun.
Mhm.
And then in 2020, and COVID hit, I got laid off, couldn't go, like I
Mhm.
was in school, couldn't go to school because all that was closed. And I
I'm
was like,
sorry.
hey, I'm getting 6 months of unemployment from my job. I was like, why don't I just work really hard for 6 months and see if I can make as much as an entry level firefighter? Because that's what I was going to school for. And I was like, in
Really?
six
Wow.
months, if I make as much as an entry level firefighter, I was like, maybe that's God's way of telling us, like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
had our second baby was on the way. You got to think,
Oh man,
being
yeah,
right.
that's
And so
so
being a
much
firefighter is
right
like,
there.
it's not
Oh,
inherently every day is dangerous, but every day that you're in emergency medicine and you're like dealing with like
dude,
medical stuff,
wife, kids
yeah,
worrying about that. You're
you're
first off,
risking your health
you're worrying
every
about your own
day.
life right there.
Right.
But then also, you know, your family's worrying about you. But you have to worry about like, I need to make sure I'm gonna be able to go home. So that could also affect your
There's
job.
so many
Oh,
things about it. So
yeah.
all this was happening and I was like, "Hey, why don't I just grind it really hard for 6 months on content creation since we
Go
have
on.
we
Yeah.
have 6 months of unemployment." And I was like, "In August of 2020, that'll be 6 months. If I'm making as much as an entry level firefighter makes, then that's our sign that from God that I should do that. I should go full time."
Right. Right.
August, so an entry level firefighter in my area makes about $4,000 a month. The salary is like like
Not bad.
$48,000 a year to start. That August,
Yeah.
I made $4,030 from content creation,
Mhm.
and so I went full time in
Mhm.
August of 2020. And she supported me the whole way. Like I wouldn't have been able to do this without her
Dude,
because
how
we've
amazing
had
is that though? Like just to
and so
have that support.
yeah, and so like now, and I keep telling her, I'm like, hey, because she has her dream too. She wants to go get her master's. She wants to, so she works in special ed. She teaches children with special needs, and
Mhm.
she's one of, if not the best in the district. And what
Well,
she
first
really
off,
wants to
that
do,
deserves its praise on its own. That's
it's
amazing
just
right there. That's
it's just a
such a
calling.
gifted
She
job.
loves it.
Yes. Yes.
And so, like, what she wants to do is she wants to be not at just the teacher level. She wants to be making choices and decisions that hopefully trickle down and go across the entire district. So
Yeah,
she needs to
cause
get
and
her
effect.
master's for that.
Oh, okay.
And so I keep telling her, I'm like, hey, as soon like it's almost your turn. You know, like you've
Yeah.
supported me for so long.
Yeah.
You're almost to the point where you can quit your job and I can support everything and then you can, finish your masters and all that stuff
Mhm.
cuz and it's a wild I'll be really vulnerable with this. Like when we started dating, I was working at a restaurant making like good lord, like $300 a week. But I took her on
Yeah.
dates every Friday. You know what my date budget was? My date budget every Friday was $20. And
Mhm.
we went on a date every Friday. And I got super creative with the $20, used Groupon a lot, but there was always a date. And what's crazy
Yes.
is while we were dating, some of our best memories are from dating because it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about fancy stuff. It was just about being together. And I look back on it and I'm like, man, she was making great money dating a bum that had just
Yeah.
come from the mission field that had no money. And when you like, but she still wanted to be with me, which is cool. And so now I think for the first time, like 2 years ago, I made more money than her in a year. And now I'm making about twice as much as she's making.
Mhm.
And it's about to be her turn to pursue the next stage of her dreams. And it's interesting we're talking about Rent a Girlfriend, and it kind of goes into all that, but all of that to say, like, we're in a relationship. We're committed to each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
He's not in a relationship with her.
No.
If he
No.
says, this is bringing it all, landing the plane. If he says, oh, you know, that's understandable. I'll support you while you do this. Homeboy is a simp, of the biggest simp of all simps. Like,
Yes.
he's not like, screw getting nookie and getting, you know, all the good stuff. He's not even getting the title of she's my girlfriend.
No. It's
She's literally a
it's
rented
tragic.
girlfriend. It's almost like he told us in the title.
But first off, I want to admit to everyone too, just like being vulnerable. The fact is too, it amazes me too with doing this podcast that people are not only realizing like that they get to learn more about us, but we're learning more about each other, me and you,
Yeah.
and not also anime, because how our lives are very, very similar in that situation too. Because you talked about how like you were making this amount of money, dude. I was making every 2 weeks about maybe $120 to $170. That's what I was making when I first met my wife. And then after that, I was starting to make a little bit more. And it got to the point where she stuck through all that stuff. Yes, dating, Groupon, dude. When you mentioned that, that was a lifesaver. I remember when I went to buy her ring, I went to this store that my whole family has used. And it's kind of like where you kind of get like almost customized rings. And I knew when I walked in there, I was like, I want something a princess would wear. I want something like the Queen of England would wear. That's exactly what I told him behind the counter. Like, this is what I'm looking for. Oop. Found the ring, and then I realized the price. Found the diamond. I spent like 2 hours looking at the diamond. I spent all that time and found the diamond, made payments, did all that stuff. I was financing at that time, and which I don't know if I suggest that or not. But what I was doing while still dating her, I was going without sometimes breakfast or lunch just so I could still take her out on dates, because she didn't know what was going on. I didn't want her knowing what was going on in my life. I sold my Xbox. I sold my camera. I sold everything I could just make sure I could get this, because I knew at that point I was going all in
Yeah.
on that. All
Yeah.
right. I was going to that relationship. It was that or nothing. Just how I went, same thing with content creation. I went all or nothing, because I knew at the fall when I did this, it was the beginning of the summer. I knew in the fall time I was going to do another job. I went all in myself, focused on myself, and I was like, my wife was right there support me. Now we're at a point now where she doesn't need to work. She doesn't need to work, but yet she still chooses, because that's her calling. That's her calling from God. It's her right now.
Mhm.
She feels it as a mission. What she's doing now is she's doing this side job to where she can spend more time with our daughter. And since we've been so blessed with that situation, I was like, you can stay home. You don't have to go to work and all that. But she's actually, in this other way, she's actually helping out someone else while still being able to help out our daughter and be able to spend time with her. So I was like, if that's what you want, you let me do what I wanted to do. You go ahead, enjoy your life, do what you want. I'm gonna be right there supporting you every single way. If I can help out anything, just let me know. I'll do everything I can. That right there is what a relationship is. That is not a payment. Sacrifice is something that you should know in marriage is the biggest cost to your life.
You don't do it to get anything back.
It is the most rewarding thing ever. You just do it without a second thought. So if you're sitting here focusing on your career, which go ahead, chooser, it's fine. Focusing on your career, but still wanting money from him, but still wanting to have him string him along, making him think it's going to be a relationship when you know in your mindset it probably won't end up being a relationship, is it's disgusting, dude.
Or
I
even
hate it.
be like, hey, I really want to focus on my career, but I also do really care about you. Maybe we just proceed slowly. Like, let's just not jump. Let's proceed slow. Like, hey, that's fine. I care about, like, and then also you got to understand, this
There's
is it's
no good way this is going to end.
it's
I
written
just,
from the perspective of somebody that the speculation is he's in love with his main female protagonist,
so
right?
we know how it's going to end, probably.
It all kind of makes sense when it gets
Yeah.
into all of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, when my wife and I got engaged, like, I was still, working a better job, but like still broke. It
Mhm.
took a second job to pay for our honeymoon. So
Mhm.
we went to an like 10 days, all expenses paid, all inclusive resort. And I took a job for this company called Appen, and it was work from home, 4 hours a day, $10 an hour. I made $40 extra a day. And
Mhm.
it was, I don't even know how I got hooked up with this, but I was literally working for Appen, and Appen's Appen's client was Facebook. And so what I would do is I would log in and
Wow.
I would rate Facebook posts. So they'd send me Facebook posts and I would rate, they're like, hey, here's this post and here's the search query. How relevant is this post if it appears under this search query?
Hmm.
And so like if it was like, hey, the search query is Justin Bieber and it's, Justin Bieber's, post, okay.
Right.
Or if it's Justin Bieber and it's a fan posting about Justin Bieber, okay. If it's Justin Bieber and it's a cat video, then it's not relevant. So I did that for like 6 months, 4 hours a day to pay for our honeymoon. Like you said, it's all about
You
sacrifice. And
did what you had.
to bring it
And
all back to Rent a Girlfriend, I don't see where you go from here, but I do
mm-mm.
want to bring I want to transition a little bit. We've been talking about
Yeah.
manga, right, with Rent a
Yeah.
Girlfriend. We've been talking about kind of the T-bait massive animation
Right.
issues.
Right.
There is a manga that I've been reading and an anime that's coming out, and they've done something very interesting. Have you read Kagurabachi? I'm probably butchering it.
Kagurabachi. Hold on. Isn't that is that the gambling game?
No,
No,
that's
that's
Kakaguri.
Kakaguri. That's Kakaguri.
Kagurabachi
Oh,
is
that's gonna be like the new gory one that's coming out, right?
it's like so
Yeah.
Kagurabachi, it's like a world of sorcerers
Hmm.
and swordsmen. And so the
Hmm.
main character is a swordsman, and his father created all of these like enchanted blades back in the day. And all this stuff goes on because there's like 6 or 7 blades that have magic powers, but then there's sorcerers, and these sorcerers just have magical abilities, right? And all these enchanted blades have been locked down, and his
Yep.
father
I know
created
exactly
them
what
and
you're talking about.
all this craziness. It's so good, such a good manga, and the anime's been confirmed, but we're not told like exactly when. But what I'm
Will it be
getting
like a
at
T-bait?
here's what I'm getting at though. Like a while back, they were taking bids for who was going to animate the anime.
Hmm.
Mappa, Wit, all these big studios bid on it, and the whoever's in charge of the adaptation or the estate or whatever, they intentionally chose Cygame Pictures, which is a smaller animation studio, and even went on record to say the reason we chose this is because we don't want to choose a large production studio that's
Okay.
not going to really be able to focus on us
They
fully.
have other projects going on
Yes,
too.
like we don't want to get
Yeah.
into a situation where there's production issues because
Hmm.
we pick Mappa and they have 12 other projects that they're working on right now.
Right.
Or we pick Wit and they have all these other huge projects. So they chose a smaller animation studio that still does cool
Which
stuff.
could work out for them.
Right. And I just find that to be an interesting comparison to what happened with T-Bait. Like you,
Focusing on the anime or
yeah,
even focusing on a career or something like that versus this. So
right.
it all ties together. But I think focusing on a studio and going in the right means, like hey, I'm going to go in all in on this show because this is my heart and soul. I want you to give your heart and soul to it. I think that's the right thing to do. Kind of switch things and turn it up a little bit. We're going to go to actual Collecticon because all these announcements coming out. I want to know exactly, what's the highlights for what happened at, was it Collecticon Dallas? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I want to know, like, I want to kind of know the ins and outs of a con because, like, I'm planning on going to one. I'm hopefully able to go to the one in August. That's the kind of time frame I'm looking for. If it works out, trying to pretty much convince me to go to one. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, Collecticon's a really interesting convention. I've been lucky enough to be with them since the very beginning. So they started in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and they started off as PokeCon. And I saw PokeCon, and I was like, "Oh, I like Pokemon cards. I make content on Pokemon cards, and I like conventions." So I just reached out to them. I was like, "Hey, do y'all have press passes or anything? I'd love to come and make some videos there." They're like, "Yeah, sure. Call us when you get here. The show's on this day. We'll give you passes, and you can come and make videos." And then they changed the name to Collecticon in order to avoid, I guess, potential like licensing issues with Nintendo and Pokemon.
100%. No, it makes sense.
So
Yeah.
so that became Collecticon, and so I've been there since the
Why I
first
changed my
one.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's become literally like it's not a flex when we say this. It's the nation's largest like collectibles and trading card show. It's
Okay.
huge, and
Right.
well, they keep it small like intentionally, but there's always more people that want to vend there than people that actually like get in.
Right.
And it's become this. It really is collectibles and trading cards first, But what's been
Mhm.
really interesting is because it's collectibles and trading cards, we've been able to bring in a bunch of anime voice actors and do
That's what I was
anime
about to
panels
ask.
because
Yeah.
there's a ton of collectors that like anime that want
Mhm.
their like anime Funko Pops
Get
and their Dragon
signed
Ball
and all
Z
that.
cards
Yeah,
signed. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's created this really cool, interesting, unique environment. So I've been able to be a part since the beginning. And then when we did our first panels, I remember our first panels were in Orlando in 2022, I think.
Mhm.
My first panel ever, and we were just there, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do panels? We think you could do a good job." And I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, let's do it." Was Christina V, who she's Killua, she's Miraculous
Oh,
Ladybug, she's
dude.
Darkness, she's a whole bunch of characters. It's
Yeah.
Christina V, Leah Clark. Leah Clark is Himiko Toga,
Okay.
and Elizabeth Maxwell, who plays Miss Midnight, Kefla in Dragon Ball Super. So
Okay.
I'm sitting on this stage with, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are like three of the most popular female voice actors ever. I have
Mhm.
no idea what I'm doing. That was our first
Were
panel.
you nervous?
A little bit. I mean, I still
Okay.
get nervous to this day before I go on stage, but
Yeah.
then it's like I get nervous, and then as soon as I step on stage, it just I flip a mental switch, and then it all
I
goes
don't
away.
For me, like public speaking's never been a problem. Like when it came to projects in school, I was like, you know what, let's just do
Yeah,
it, guys. Everyone hated
yeah.
me, but the thing is, like, I was like, you know what, I'll do all the talking. That's fine. That's never been a problem with me. But if you took that aspect where, like, hey, I know exactly what you're talking about, and if you're wrong, like if you mess up, I think that would add a little bit more nerves to it. But like you're talking to these people who are very well known for their job, so like you also need to know about them, but also what they've done too.
Well,
I think that's amazing.
it helps that I'm a huge anime fan, right?
Hmm.
And so after that, we started doing panels on the main stage, and I became one of the three or four staple like panel moderators.
Right.
And they started getting big voice actors.
Hmm.
So they brought in Sean Schemmel, and the other panel hosts were like, I don't really know much about Sean Schemmel. I'm not a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. I'm like, I'm a freaking massive Dragon Ball Z fan. They're like, all right, you get to do it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
sweet. Oh
dude,
God. What
that's
did I sign up? And
amazing.
so I remember it was Collecticon Long Beach. I'm
Right.
backstage. Sean's coming back. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up. Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up. And then went on and Sean came back and he was like, I've had a blast. This has been a great convention. And I went and talked to him, and he came off stage and he goes, you're actually a fan, aren't you? And I was like, well, yeah. And he goes, that's actually a breath of fresh air. A lot of times we get interviewed by people that have no idea what we do.
Dude,
It's
he
just,
honestly looks like he really embodies it too. Like, you know, he loves the actual what he's worked
yes.
behind too. That's what I think is
So
also appealing too.
in Dallas last weekend, I did another panel with him, and I kind of asked him like his perspective on why Goku's so popular, why he takes the role so seriously, because he truly does. He truly
Why he's
like,
a great father?
yeah, he takes it. He takes Goku seriously because he understands that people have connected with Goku so much.
It resonates.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and he believes that he wants to do it right for the fans to
Mhm.
continue to enjoy Goku as long as he's alive. And
Yeah.
like, I'll put out some videos about this, but like he really broke down some really awesome deep stuff about his role as Goku, about Akira Toriyama, about
Mhm.
he's like, I think I figured out why Akira Toriyama did things and wrote things the way he did. It's really beautiful. We'll get those videos out and hopefully they'll be very popular and viral. But now it's come to where like I have to check myself because I'm like, wow, just because I messaged this company and said I want to come to your convention and then showed up
Mhm.
and was loyal and present every time and like, hey, will you help us move chairs? Yeah, I'll help you move chairs. Hey, will you help us set up tables? Sure. Hey, there's trash over here. Can you help us do that? Yeah. But we're also flying you out and doing this stuff and giving you fun opportunities,
Mhm.
as opposed to some other people that were getting, that I'm not going to name names, but some other people that were getting flown out and
Dang.
stuff. They're like, hey, will you help me move chairs? Yeah, we'll help you move chairs. They go the other way over. Hey,
Ego check.
will you help us
Yeah.
move these couches and stuff?
Yeah.
They're like, that company's not paying me. Why would I do a damn thing for them? Like,
Yeah.
being present and loyal. And then I check myself, I'm like, holy cow, like I'm about to go interview Sean Schemmel. I'm about to go interview
Mhm.
Sean and Chris Sabat, who are Goku and Vegeta.
Mhm.
I'm about to interview Alex Lee, who's one of the most freaking popular voice actors right now. I'm about to go
So
on
jealous,
stage
dude.
and
So
interview Bryce
jealous.
Papenbrook and Abby Trott and Johnny Young
Oh,
Bosch and Zach Aguilar for the Demons, like the main characters of Demon Slayer. Oh my
dude.
God, I'm about to go sit down with Johnny Young Bosch by himself. He's freaking Ichigo and Vash the Stampede. Holy crap. I'm interviewing Steve Bloom for the fifth time, who's Spike
Living your best
Spiegel,
life,
my
man.
favorite anime and my favorite voice actor and my favorite main character ever. And getting to do all of this and build like some type of rapport with these people to
Mhm.
where like I'm standing outside of the hotel in LA and Steve Bloom walks up and he goes, "Oh, hey man, how you doing? I saw you got a new job running a convention for Collecticon Anime America. How's that going?" And I'm like,
So they're actually like knowing
"What?"
about you too.
Yeah, like actually paying attention. And then Steve Bloom emails me and he's like, "Hey," Steve Bloom emails me. He offers me a job.
Quick flex.
Yeah, he offers me a job and I have to like say, "Hey, I can't take that job unfortunately. You know, I have full-time career content creating
Yeah.
and then now I'm the general manager of Anime America, so that's going to be basically two full-time jobs on top of each other."
Yeah.
It's like as much as I want to take your job and as much as what you're offering is very very fair
Generous.
amount of money for this job,
Yes.
I can't take it. And then I'm like, "Oh my god. How crazy is my life that
Mhm.
I just turned down a good job from my favorite voice actor of all time?"
But that goes back to being you're going all in on yourself. I mean, dude, I've had a same situation that happened this week, and I'm still conflicted about it because I got emailed by a very well known person who is not in the anime community, but I grew up knowing and watching. That's a little teaser to what it is. But they asked me to be a part of their podcast, and I messaged my wife about it. I was like, should I do it because it has nothing pertaining to my brand? But at the same time, these are people I grew up watching. I knew I enjoyed, and I'm like, do I take it? Do I have any value add to it? Sometimes like I don't follow a lot of people on social media because for me, who you follow, I think it should be important. If you actually believe what that person says, by all means. So when I see people who are on there who have egos that are bigger than their heads or bigger than their following sometimes, that right there gets to me. And I can't be behind that. But when it comes to like going all in and having that support, I mean, I literally have a text from my wife. First off, she's saying, how in freaking awe she is because I sent her the screenshot of it. But then at the same time, she was like, "The Lord continues to bless us, babe. You know, you're doing the right thing." She's right again. That support. She's like, I told her, I was like, I'm still not sure. I don't know what to do. She's like, I hear you. Whether or not you take it, the right amount of people are looking at you, and you'll get so many people asking to do stuff like this, and it's going to be crazy. And that's sometimes I don't realize too is that I have people looking at me. I have people watching. I have people asking, sometimes even relying on me, not just my family, because sometimes I'm just so glued and focused on that. When she said that, I was like, I have people watch me. Is this the right
Mhm.
thing for me to do? We'll see. But having that mindset, having that where you're focusing all on yourself, you know these creators, you know these voice actors, and you know what can happen from this. But you also have people who are relying on you yourself, not also these conventions, but also your viewers as well, for you to make these kind of
Yeah.
like content, these kind of
Yeah.
videos. So if you're being tied down to one thing, I think you did the right choice. I really do.
And here's where it's going to come in clutch is as this podcast starts to grow, I have a multi-year relationship. And this is anybody that's listening to this, this is not a flex. This is just the truth.
Just a little.
I'm
No,
not I'm not
go
saying
ahead.
it to flex though. I'm saying
No,
it like out of being incredulous and
it's
also
the
out
fruit
of
of your
like
labor.
I'm
It's what
saying it
you've
out of
done.
being humbling, but also like again to clarify, this isn't a flex. This is me saying, no, no,
Mhm.
no, don't look at me. Look at what God's done in my life and look at the
Yes.
crazy stuff he's done for me. And like,
Yes.
what's that? What does that mean for you? So this isn't a flex for
Mhm.
me. This is saying, hey, this is how cool God is. I have a relationship, like a semi-working relationship with Chris Sabat, with Sean Schemmel, with Steve Bloom, with Johnny Young Bosch, with another 10 voice actors that maybe aren't like S tier like
Mhm.
they are, but are still super popular.
Yeah.
And I've never asked them for anything. We're going to
Might need to
start
now.
having conversations about asking them to be guests on this podcast.
Yes. I would.
So
I
that's
mean, I
something
just
to
want
say.
that
Yeah,
personally.
that's
I want to
something
talk to them.
to look forward to because hey, you don't have to do anything, but like you want to
Yeah.
just jump into a call one day real quick
Yeah.
and hang out with us
Yeah.
for 30 minutes, be in the podcast. Because I see a lot of other people that are doing that. I'm like, how are they doing that? And they're like, well, we just ask. And they
Mhm.
say, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, cool.
Sometimes also being in the position that we are too, it's like I said, it's the fruit of our labor, but also we don't realize the amount of reach we might have sometimes. So sometimes just taking that risk. And even when it comes to it too, a lot of people don't realize a lot of people will DM me, a lot of people will message me, and or even in comment section, they're surprised I respond. Dude, the fact is, my mindset is if I'm taking the time to make a video, take the time to edit all this stuff, and you're willing to watch the full thing and take the time to comment or say something, even if it's hurtful, I need to be showing that amount of effort too. Like, I need to be able to respond to that comment. I need to make sure I'm giving that same effort back. People will message me all the time. I'll message you back, and there's like, oh, I'm so surprised you messaged me back. I'm like, dude, I read my messages all the time. I try to respond to every single one within reason. I try to respond to every single one
hard.
I am.
It gets hard.
Well, sometimes it's just not even worth responding to. That's a whole different thing as is. But sometimes you look at these voice actors too, and I've mentioned this to you a lot of times, but like, say, Bryce, when you look at this voice actor and when he's in interviews, you can tell he loves talking about his career and what he's like, how
what he anime.
He loves it. Why not just take that risk? And this is for anybody doing it. Just take that risk. Go in all on yourself, believe in yourself, and just what can happen? What's the worst? Him saying no?
A good lesson too. Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
It's such a good lesson because not everybody's experiences are going to be what our experiences are. Not everybody is built.
It took a lot to get to where we are, though. I mean, they don't realize it takes a lot.
Like, in this industry. Yeah, there's a lot that's gone behind the scenes with both of us to get here, and we're not even
how much
some level.
It took just to get this podcast started. Yeah. What? Oh my gosh, it took so much.
I worked for 2 years full time in construction. I was a project manager for a construction company, full time, 2 years. Literally, what I did in my free time was make YouTube videos.
Yes.
For 2 years. So
that's me.
I spent like 30 hours a week on learning. Like, I didn't come into this knowing like, I know how to do this. I know what lighting and no. I knew nothing. I knew how to do
skill.
This.
It's a craft.
I knew how to do this.
Yeah.
That's what I knew. And 2 years did that working full time, working 20, 30 hours a week, not doing anything else for fun. Was that the healthy thing to do? Not really. Like, there was issues with family and stuff like that because I get super obsessive. But
I can understand that. Yeah.
You can look at somebody's life and be like, wow, what they have is really, really cool. And then realize one day that you're the person that people are looking at saying what they have is really, really cool. And then you think, well, you don't know everything I went through to get here. And then you look at somebody and be like, man, what they have is cool. And then you realize, oh, people don't know what I went through to get where I'm at. Who knows what they've gone through to get where they are.
Yes.
Right.
But when it comes down to, I think there's what people don't realize. Like, yes, you can have overnight success. You can have people like Post Malone, boom, instantly. But I think you need to realize too, and when it comes to family too, dude, I had a lot of struggles, not even like with just my wife, but also like my own family themselves, questioning what I was doing, wondering what I was like, they're saying this is the wrong path for me, like trying to like skew me off of my vision. But that's what I want people to understand about this. And it's kind of crazy. If you could take anything from this, is that distant gratification is the number one thing you need to realize when it comes to content creation.
Delayed
you
gratification.
You need to see where you want to be. That's right. That's like, even when you get to that point, you'll realize there's going to be another and another. Once you get to that point, there's two things you need to do. When you get to the point where you want to say, like, you want 1,000 followers. Okay. You get there, realize, okay, what's next? Take time to appreciate what you just did. It's going to take time. You know, that first video you post isn't going to do well. It's very unlikely. Take time, appreciate yourself once you get there, but also don't get complacent. Look for the next thing. Look for the next thing. Look for the next thing. So having that mindset right there, you got to realize it took a lot to get there. I started out, like I said, on a whole different genre, and I am to where I am now because of I saw myself. And like I said, I went all in on myself. I knew what could happen, and here we are. And I even with this podcast, first off, I'm just enjoying it. I get super excited to record, just to hit record and just talk about anime. I love it. I don't really have a lot of people I can talk anime about, but also I know where I can see this. I have a mindset. For me, I don't get happy until I reach this goal, right? I can enjoy the process, but all right, when I get this point, I'll give myself gratification, but then I'm going to get the next point and the next point. So I think a lot of people don't understand about it too, but I don't know. Dude. I feel like I don't want to get ego. I don't want that. But at the same time, if we're able to get some well-known voice actors on here, dude, like, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And to wrap it all back to Collecticon, like, Collecticon is this really cool almost family like environment,
Okay.
and it's very
Very family
fun.
oriented almost.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
not an anime convention. We do get a lot of
Mhm.
great anime voice actors, and we do have some
Mhm.
anime merch. It's very much predominantly collectibles, trading cards,
Mhm.
Pokemon, some
Mhm.
sports, Magic. It's very much, like, very heavy that, but we
Okay.
have cool anime panels, and we have, Power Ranger panels and, panels of nostalgic cartoon voice actors and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. And it's all led to, like, they offered me a job to, I worked for them for 5 years for $0. Just,
Mhm.
like, for
No.
the
Okay.
opportunity and the experience, right? And
Right.
then they offered me a job like, "Hey, we're gonna start Anime America, and we wanna start a full-on real anime convention."
So instead of being collection, it's anime
It's
based.
anime, yeah, and they're like,
Exciting.
"Would you like the job as a general manager?"
Heck
It's a
yeah.
legit job. I was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, like, let's do it." And so now we're building out Anime America, and just literally yesterday, we put ticket sales live, vendor booth sales live,
I
and
saw
it's
that, man.
like it's one of those
Congratulations,
things where
dude.
it's like you kinda start cruising, and you're like, "Yeah, yeah, I know what I'm doing," and then you add something else in, and you're like, "Oh, I have no clue what I'm doing." And it's like all this new stuff that you're learning, and that's kind of what has happened with Collecticon. So yeah, check out Anime America, animeamerica.com.
Definitely.
We'll be in
Definitely.
Dallas September 26th and 27th, or the 27th and
Awesome.
28th, and Houston November 22nd and 23rd. But
Awesome.
Collecticon is a blast. Like, if
Right.
you even like halfway like collectibles or TCGs, Collecticon is a lot of fun just to walk around and look.
TCG.
Trading card games like Pokemon,
Oh, okay,
Magic,
okay,
stuff
okay,
like
okay,
that.
okay. Okay.
It's fun to walk around and enjoy, and you can really absorb it in a whole day. If you're like not wanting to see voice actors and have a lot of fun, if you're wanting to see voice actors, I recommend buying the VIP badge because you get to cut the line. And then you can just do all the voice actors you want to do in a day, and then come the next day and enjoy the convention. But
So I've seen with a lot of videos when it comes to Collecticon, I guess in general, I've seen a lot of videos where since it's card collecting, if you want to kind of talk about that, I've seen a lot of people where they do they have like a lot of binders with these cards in it, and a lot of people they'll kind of like snake them out and then like
yeah,
steal.
yeah, this happens. I mean, it happens at any
Is
convention.
I guaranteed yes. Do you think it happens more with since the rise of Pokemon? Do you think it's happening because like of that
I think it's a
more?
byproduct of
Okay.
the crazy prices and the FOMO and stuff like that. Dude,
Yeah.
I've seen a guy get chased down and like grabbed because he stole something. I've seen a
Hmm.
guy get escorted out by cops because he stole a $5,000 card, which is a
Yeah.
felony in Texas.
And
And
don't
like,
get arrested in Texas, buddy.
yeah, it's wild. But to kind
Yeah.
of, as we wrap everything up, Collecticon is a blast. You should go.
Hmm.
We're building Anime America in a similar model, and by model I mean like similar size. I really
Okay.
want Anime America to be like, I want it to feel like a teeny tiny anime expo where you can walk in and be like, oh, there's some really cool fun brands here, and then a lot of cool vendor booths. And we're going to have a cosplay contest with $5,000 cash prizes and just
Awesome.
fun, cool stuff to do. And then you're like,
Yeah.
I can do this in a day and feel good about myself. Or I can,
Okay.
take 2 days and one day to like do all the stuff that I have to wait in line, and then another day to enjoy. Spend
Yeah.
$100 on a VIP badge if you want VIP, and enjoy it. And that's kind of where that's going. So it's to go
Yeah.
from construction to making videos about Funko Pops to making videos full time about Pokemon to making videos full time about Pokemon and anime interviews to interviewing anime voice actors to now being the GM of an anime convention. And I have 3 kids and a wife and all this crazy stuff. Life's a lot of fun, and
You've been blessed, man.
you never
Yeah.
know where life's going to take you. And like we always say, we hope our experiences, if you're listening or watching,
Yeah.
motivate you to be not prescriptive but descriptive of like, if you
Yes.
believe in yourself and bet on yourself and trust in God or trust in whatever you believe in, and don't give up, you'll get there. The only way to not win is to give up.
Some of the best advice my dad ever gave me, two things was one, opportunity really shows itself. Very few are prepared. So if you have an opportunity to do something, do it. But then also with that, if you're sitting here around here waiting for the opportunity to come, you got to realize too, don't have your life in neutral. Even if it's the wrong direction, go forward. Don't be sitting there waiting for something. Just take a risk.
Yeah. The opportunity to be the GM of Anime America, like, I could have missed that opportunity if I wasn't available and
Mhm,
loyal at like, obviously, I was getting intangible things at
mhm.
Collecticon where I got to do panels, I got access to make content that, most people don't get, but I would not have been there to accept that opportunity had I not been, willing to,
Yeah.
do all these other things where maybe I wasn't able to get paid to be there, but it was other, other benefits. So I think
No.
it's a good lesson to leave
Yes.
people to ruminate on
Yes,
for
great way
for
to end it
today.
because first off, of realizing how it was mainly supposed to be about anime and we kind of got into life and all these different excuses, but that's what this podcast is for because we have real lives. We love anime, but sometimes they can intertwine and how sometimes anime can affect our lives too. That's what I want people to realize from this podcast. I
Agreed.
appreciate everyone being here. Hopefully next week you can get to some more deeper topics, actually talking about specifically anime. Because every once in a while we're gonna have these
Well,
topics where we talk about ourselves. We're gonna talk
next week
about
we're gonna
whatever's going on in
go
our
over
life.
all the summer anime that's
Yes.
coming out and what we're
Summer
looking forward
is
to.
here, baby.
Yes.
The bods might not be ready, but the animes are. So I want everyone to be ready for next week. We're gonna be going over animes, and hopefully, I might try to introduce a segment where we do ask or answer questions that people are asking about this, so we can try
Cool.
to
Yeah.
intertwine that. Do those two things. Have something people are looking forward to.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you next
See you
week.
next week, guys.
Hopefully, hopefully you have a good one.
Peace.
Bye.